of having a military. I'm standing army in this country.
Like wars? True. Okay, but ours are all political wars, so we don't need it.
The military is not a political organization. We don't get involved in political wars.
How did you make commander? Sir?
Captain, your next appointment is waiting.
Fine. I would appreciate it if you would go back and rearrange this along much more military lines, and if you could come up with something that's a little more appropriate to the military, why I might consider it.
Which factors?
How many you got there? 10?
10.
All 10 of them.
All right. Where's my letter of resignation?
Would you mind asking the next person to come in, and then would you mind going next door to the next person?
Tell back to follow.
Yeah.
The next person? Yes, come right in here. If you'll just sit right here, please. I'd like to introduce the new commanding officer of the base, and you're going to convince him of the rightness of your list.
You're going to convince him of the rightness of my list?
Yes, right. And your ranking, your priority.
Phil Skipper, my name is Chief Gogan. How you doing, Phil?
Good to see you.
My particular group went through this, and of all of the traits listed, the most correct or desirable trait that we felt was honesty. If you weren't an honest person, you could have all these other traits, and it wouldn't mean anything except to that individual. So we selected honesty. I'm not finished yet. Good.
You'd like to go all the way through it before you ask my response? Is that...
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'll let you.
No, you go. No, go ahead. You go ahead. Don't worry.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, anyway, if a person isn't honest, isn't able to administer leadership honestly, then all these other traits are meaningless or worthless.
Captain, your next appointment is waiting. The Admiral, sir.
Okay. You sure it's going to be okay if if we don't get to this right away? I mean,
Sure.
You sure? No, because I can get to that later.
The Admiral's
I
having
make
a
sure.
cup now, sir. He'll be done in just a couple of minutes.
Okay. Now, I know it's important to you, and I hear you wanting to get to it, but I might be able to do something about that.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You sure?
Sure.
I'm not. You really?
No, I got all the time in the world, Captain.
All right.
Maybe you could just go down the list. And,
Okay. Let me see. Sorry, the Admiral won out.
All right. Could you ask all the other two to come back in, please? Could you ask the other two participants to come in, please? Stay right here, please. Come right up to the front here, please. Now what's happened?
Is that color?
What's happened here is that each one of you have had an experience of trying to convince the commanding officer of the rightness of your list, right? All right. Would you mind giving your reactions to the way the situation evolved and developed?
Yeah, I had some pretty good rationale for our decisions, but I didn't get to use them because I knew it was a game, and she wasn't going to buy anything I said, so it kind of stifled it.
How did you feel about it?
I think I'd have been distressed in a real situation. Okay, I knew it was kind of a game.
Distress is a euphemism for
pissed off.
All right. How did you feel about it?
Well, I was building up all kinds of filters when I was sitting in there. I was listening to all this laughing going on. I just knew I was being set up for something. So I figured, well, I'll just come in here with, try to have an open mind and play the game. And I really didn't know what was happening when Lieutenant Piper came up with that last bit there about the admiral. You know, I figured there was some more of a plot to it.
How did you feel about the attack on the list and his agreeing or disagreeing or?
It didn't bother me really one way or the other.
One way or the other. All right. Did you feel like you had a chance to get all your rationales out and you felt good about the way he received them and?
No.
But I mean, he was very agreeable, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was only agreeable in a selfish way. In my opinion, no.
All right. How did you feel?
Well, I felt fine presenting the reasons for what the traits we put down, but it became frustrating when he wasn't really giving me much feedback. You know, what's he thinking? I really didn't know. And I probably at the end, after he finally came out with what he said at the end, I felt kind of like Tom did. Frustrated.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, that sort of blew my whole part of this talk. The idea, obviously, and I hopefully you've already picked up on it, is that the very dogmatic, arbitrary, although that sometimes has to happen in the military in that manner, leader sometimes turns people off and doesn't get complete support as you go through the exercise. The very democratic leader, on the other hand, supposedly, because he has worked out compromises and agreed and disagreed, will tend to get good support from the people and make it happen. Now, maybe I'm talking business and industry more than I'm talking military. And the third, the laissez-faire, is a very frustrating experience. If you've gone to all the trouble to pull all your rationales together, and then have the guy just fold up on you like a tent, it's very disquieting, very discouraging. So those are the three main types, and I hope we've seen sort of a broad cross-section of how they work. I'm not sure that we have, because some of the roles were maybe exaggerated a little too much and some not strong enough. But at least you get the idea of the three types and how it might work. I thank you very much for your cooperation. All right. I have about 30 minutes, and I'd like to have, I'm going to jump through a whole bunch of this material to get to one that I call subliminal stereotyping, if I can find it. Yes, here it is. It's, what it is I'm going to flash a picture on the screen. I'm going to ask 4 people to leave the room, and I'm going to ask one of the 4 to stay in the room. They're going to observe the picture, that person will observe the picture, and communicate verbatim to the second person what the first person saw. What the second person will communicate to the third, and the third will communicate to the fourth. The fourth will then come up to the blackboard and draw exactly what the first person saw. Now I'm going to give you a couple of clues that might load it up a little bit, but something to think about. One, I want you to think of it as a police incident. So you want to present all the very cogent and important details. All right? That's very important. Cogent, and you've got to report it as if it were a police incident. All right? Secondly, there's a hook in the picture. And I'm saying that right out in front. And I can't describe it any better than that. There's a hook, there's a trick, there's a gimmick in the picture, and I want you to be very aware of it. And some of you in the audience will pick it up immediately. And some of you won't see it until it's explained. And I'd say it's very seldom when anybody picks it up right away in the audience that sees the action. I'd like to get the, let's see, although you participated before, I'd like to get Bonnie and Pat, and is there a Joe in here? Yes, Joe, and is there any? Let's see, I've got a whole bunch of names, and I've sort of lost track of, and maybe Larry, if you wouldn't mind, Larry, participating one more time. If I could have those 4 people stand up, wherever they are. Oh, Bonnie, Bonnie, would you mind being the second one? Mr. Chrisman, if you would come up, and you're going to be the first one. You'll communicate with Bonnie, who will communicate with Joe, who will communicate with Larry. Larry, you're going